So yeah, by the way, I hope that it's okay for you that we record this talk, so that we might also show it to other. If not, then please tell us via chat or via a microphone. You can unmute yourself. You was muted if you came into the conference, but you can unmute yourself and ask questions. This is what you always can do while the talk. You can also enter the question in the chat. I think that Adriana will watch the chat, and later we have a question and answer session. Then later we can answer them, and I think that this is a topic where maybe there will be much more questions later somewhere. So that's clear. But for the talk, maybe the first choice would be to enter it in the chat. And if it's a very urgent question, then you also can unmute yourself and then ask directly, and then I can answer while the talk on your question. So yeah, recording is on. Yeah, I told you it's an experiment in our European University. We are thinking about how to improve Eunice, European University Eunice. We are thinking about how to improve the contribution of scientific proposals inside Eunice. And there we thought about this instrument, this funding instrument of the Skłodowska-Curie postdoctoral fellowships. What is a mobility measure, and where postdocs can go to different countries and do their research project there. And this is the first time we do this, so it's our experiment. We are collecting experience with this. I hope that we will continue with this in a different form. Like I told you, that is an experiment, but I think it's a quite good idea to foster projects in our European University Eunice. So my name, by the way, is Patrick Hoffmann. I'm so-called EU Liaison Officer at Brandenburg University of Technology here in Cottbus in Germany, one of the 7 partners of the Reunice project and 10 partners in the complete alliance Eunice for You. And with me today is Adriana Handrich. She is working in the Reunice project, where we finance this experiment, so to say. And we also have Joanna today with us. She's from the Poznan University of Technology, our coordinator in the European University Eunice. And also that's my pendant at Poznan University of Technology, so also a kind of project officer or EU liaison officer for the PUT in Poznan. So yeah, and today we want to start this experiment with a talk. We called it a coaching and a mentoring program. That is a later step then. And that is our timeline for today. So at first, I want to tell you about this coaching and mentoring program, then a brief introduction into the EU research program, Horizon Europe. The Marie Skłodowska-Curie action is a part of this. I want to show you the conditions and eligibility criteria for this program today, and I think the most important part is maybe the 4th part, how to write the proposal. So I will go through all subheadings of the proposal and give you some hints for every subheading, and then I already said this. We have a question and answer session. And I will show you what the next steps are in this coaching and mentoring program, because today this is just a starting. So at first, I will tell you something about the coaching and mentoring program and the timeline. So today we start with this project or program. We give you an info seminar and some coaching, that is how to write the proposal. Yeah? The coaching for this MSCA postdoctoral fellowship proposal. Starting from today until 25th of June, we have a call to collect the best proposal ideas via a questionnaire. We have already prepared this questionnaire, so you can enter your project ideas, and at the end of this time, we will select one or some and announce them as a so-called award to get individual mentoring for you. To improve this proposal, to write a very good proposal. Therefore, we are hiring consulting companies, and we will pay this, and they will, together with you, improve your proposal. And the final step then that will last from July to July, August. That depends on you. You have to discuss it with the company when you have time and so on. Yeah, it's just that we offer this and you can use it. And the 11th of September is then the deadline already of the proposal submission. So it's a quite tight time frame, but I think that it should be doable. So okay, this is for our program, and now I want to give you a brief introduction of the research framework program Horizon Europe. I don't know if everyone is familiar with you, so I want to show you the main ideas. The Horizon Europe is one of, at the moment, 40 projects that are financed by the European Commission. Maybe you are also familiar with Erasmus Plus program. There are also some Creative Europe programs, European Social Funds, and so on. So a lot of funds, but the main European funding program for research is Horizon Europe. And all these programs can be found on the funding and tender portal. This is a link where when you click down, then you get this window what I've shown you here. And actually today we are talking just about this program because it's important. It's the most important program for research in Europe. And that is actually the structure of the program. Yeah? You've seen there are 40 programs, but every program is some kind of a universe of its own. So it's very important to know where to look and for what you are looking. And that's why I'm just giving you a brief introduction. So this is now Horizon Europe. Horizon Europe consists of three main so-called pillars. These are a set of funding lines, so to say, what are funding certain certain research and certain development programs and so on. So we have the first pillar, that is so-called the excellent science pillar. That is actually the most important for fundamental research. That will finance bottom-up research. So that means that you can come with your idea to any topic, to any scientific topic, what you want, any idea what you want, and that can be financed with funding instruments under this pillar. Then we have a pillar 2, and you see here are already given some scientific topics. These are called clusters, and to these clusters there are financed large funding, large consortia for doing collaborative research. So these are actually the large classical European projects. And then there's a pillar 3 called Innovative Europe. So these are innovation projects. They are actually more for companies than for researchers, but of course you also need always some research in it. So it's very dedicated for companies. So sometime for some funding instruments, there will be funding only for companies. So you see that we have funding from fundamental research to applied research and development, even for market take-up. So a broad spectrum of funding in this framework program Horizon Europe. Yeah, but today I'm talking about only about this Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions and one funding line in these actions. That is for your career development for researchers. Another funding instrument you might heard of is the European Research Council, or ERC grants, what they give. This is what I'm not talking about today. Maybe we have to discuss it internally. Internally means in Eunice, in our European University. Maybe we offer this later, but today it's only about the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. And I'm also not talking about this large European cooperation projects in Pillar 2, especially, and also in Pillar 3. These are cooperation projects. That means cooperation means that you need at least 3 partners from 3 different member states. So this is what you normally think about European projects. They are quite large. Yeah, at least 3 means sometimes they are also 30. So these are very big projects. Sometimes, no, not always. But I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about today about the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions and the funding line postdoctoral fellowships. So, but at first, I just want to mention who is eligible for the research framework for Horizon Europe, the research framework program. Obviously, everyone in the European Union. So all of the 27 member states, but there are also associated countries. So if you are in Norway, Serbia, and so on, all these countries here, UK now also, yeah, if you're in these countries, then you can also apply for this funding. There's a list of participating countries that changed a lot in the last years because it was very hard. You might have seen these political controversies between the European Union and UK, and that was also affected by this political controversies. But since Mr. Sunak is a prime minister in UK, we also have an agreement, an association agreement with the UK. So you can also apply to go into the UK, or if you are in UK from the UK. Yeah, it's also possible to have developing countries in such projects. All industrialized countries can take part, but will not get funding. That's the general rule. And of course, there are some embargoes. So, but I think that for our case, the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, that is not important. But for instance, if you plan to go to Russia, that is not a good idea at the moment. Anyhow, okay. So this is the participation in Horizon Europe. And now I want to focus on this Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions and the funding line, especially postdoctoral fellowships, because that is important, an important career development instrument for scientists in Europe. So at first, again, this complete Horizon Europe funding program, and we are located in Pillar 1 and the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. I'm emphasizing this again because if you are looking for a call, then you might be asked what pillar it is, yeah, and then you need to know what's a pillar, and that's why that is sometimes important. Mostly it helps if you're just looking for Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. So anyhow, these are located here, but it's a plural here, so it's not only one action what they're funding. They are funding several actions. We are talking today about the postdoctoral fellowships, so that is support to excellent postdoctoral researchers, to a single postdoctoral researcher. There are also other funding instruments, for instance, the doctoral networks. So you can generate a network of doctoral candidates who are working on one certain scientific topic, up to 15 doctoral candidates across Europe. You can have, that's another funding line. Another funding line is called staff exchange. So you can organize or get funded for a staff exchange on a certain scientific topic. You can even get co-funding, 50%, I think it's roughly 50% co-funding for your existing or new postdoctoral or doctoral programs. And you might also heard of this. There are some events like the European Researchers Night and Researchers at School and so on. They are funded in the funding line MSCA and Citizen. But what we are talking today is the postdoctoral fellowships, and there I want to go more into detail. First, the complete, not the complete, the most important information about this funding line. It funds postdocs, what means you have to have a PhD. That is important. It funds postdocs with maximum 8 years of full-time researcher experience. So that means 8 years since you have received the PhD. There are exceptions in place, for instance, maternal leave, parental leave, I don't know, illnesses, or you have not worked in research. These are all times what will be subtracted from these 8 years. So if that does not mean that your PhD really needs to be only 8 years old, but you have to have these only 8 years of full time research experience. So the important point is that it will fund your individual research project. Individual research project means this is your idea, you apply with your idea, and of course yourself, because you have to also send a CV with the application, and this project also must match to your scientific work in the past and to your career development perspectives. So it's a very good instrument to improve your career. The proposal will be evaluated for excellent research. It's in the pillar excellent research. So that means that it's not a development project. You are not developing something, you are doing research. That is basic research. That is very important. That does not mean that you should not have any evaluation of the results in mind. That's not a problem, but it will be evaluated whether this is an excellent research proposal. So it's not important that you do the work for companies. It's important that you do a work for science. So this MSCA PF, Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, Postdoctoral Fellowships, this abbreviation will appear quite often now, is open to all fields of research, but you have to identify yourself to one of the 8 scientific panels: chemical science, social science, economy, engineering, environmental science, life science, mathematics, and physics. So this will later appear if you apply for the proposal, and that of course that defines what selection panel, what evaluation panel you will get. A very important point is, I already told it, that's a mobility program. So that means the research project must be implemented abroad. So if you're at the moment in Germany or in Poland, then you have to change the country. To change the country means, or actually this is the so-called mobility rule, the Marie Skłodowska-Curie mobility rule. You have to be less than 12 months in the target country for the last 3 years. So that means if you are in Germany, but only for the last 6 months, then it will still be possible to apply for a fellowship in Germany. The nationality, by the way, does not play any role. So you can even be of Chinese, Indian, or US nationality. That doesn't matter. Only where have you done your normal work in the last 3 years matters for the mobility rule. So the program, Marie Skłodowska-Curie Postdoctoral Fellowships, funds personal qualifications and career development. That is very important. So all things what you are proposing, you must consider as career development measures. And that will be always asked, how good will it support your career? So that's why it's a very good instrument for developing careers. Please consider this already by choosing your host institution. Select a host institution which matches your career development goals. Not a nice place, but a place what is good for your career development goals. That depends on, of course, your scientific career up to now and what goals you have. Also consider integration to teaching at your host institution. The integration bilateral knowledge exchange that will come later is very important in this funding line. Yeah, that's why I've written here in red, bidirectional knowledge exchange. So what are you learning at your host institution abroad? But what is the host institution also learning from you? You have to state on this. So it's already important that you choose your host institution keeping this in mind, that you later also have to write what they are learning from you. You have to state on this, so it's a good idea to have something in mind already. Also very important is the so-called intersectoral exchange. Intersectoral means between academia, universities, research organizations, and so on are all academia, and non-academia. So this exchange is very important. That can be done by secondments. I have later some more information about this, or a non-academic placement, so-called. That's quite new at the end of the fellowship. And the European Commission is calling this I3, so international, intersectoral, or interdisciplinary mobility. It also is important by choosing your host institution. You can go from one university to another university, but it might be a good idea then to have maybe a secondment, 1 month, 2 months, I don't know, to a company or to a non-academic sector. I have later some information what means a non-academic sector. Does not need to be a company. Could also be administrative, so official administration, NGOs. I don't know what. So it's a wide variety, and it depends on your field of research. If you're doing engineering, then it might be a company, but you're doing social science, then it might also be an administration. So I was talking about the postdoctoral fellowships, but there are 2 types of this fellowship. And that's the second slide. I took it just from the European Commission because they have done it very nice. We have the European Fellowship and we have the Global Fellowship. The normal European Fellowship means that you go from anywhere, any nationality, like I told you, but you have to go into a member state or associated country. Member state is clear, the European Union. Associated country, like I told you, like I've shown you on one of the first slides, could also be Norway, Turkey, Ukraine, yeah, and so on. All countries who are associated. And the global fellowship means you as a researcher from, and then now the nationality is important, researcher from a member state or an associated country. Could also be, does not need to be a national, so born in a member state. It could could also be a how do they call it, a long residence, and then we have to check if this applies to you. Yeah? So it's not really tied to nationality, but you have to be a long-term resident in a member state or associated country. Then you can also use a global fellowship, and that means you go to a so-called third country that is everything else except European Union and the associated countries. So that means US, Canada, China, Australia, whatever. You can go also 12 to 24 months, but there's a compulsory return phase, what means 1 year, another 12 months, go back into a member state or associate country. That's the condition that we as European Union fund you when you are going to a third country. That's European taxpayers' money, and that should not be invested into the US, let's say, if there's no return. And that's the compulsory return phase. So this would also be possible. I've given you the indicative budget. You see there are 350 million euros designated for this postdoctoral fellowship, European fellowship only, and 60 million euro for the global fellowship. So it's much smaller. So this is a normal case, and these there will be funded much less proposals. Okay, global fellowship, European fellowship, global fellowship. There are some optional features. I already told you there could be a secondment. Secondment means that while your fellowship, 1 up to 2 years, is running, you can go to a different institution, a different company, whatever you think would be good for your research. That can be worldwide, up to a third of the fellowship duration. And also in the global fellowship. You can do it in a single period or divide it in shorter mobility periods. So let's say for a week or 2 weeks, depends on how far it is. Could also be that it's in the same city. You go to a university, and in the same city you have, I don't know, an administration, a company, an NGO, or whatever you want to go. And then this would be also possible to divide it into shorter mobility periods. Can be done in any sector, in academic or non-academic, but you have to state on how you improve your career chances and your employability also. And therefore, it's always a good idea to also see that you have experience in the non-academic sector, intersectoral exchange. And that's why it would be strongly advisable if you are going from one university where you are now to a host university, from academics to academics, that you choose for your secondment also a non-academic institution somehow. But it's also possible to go to another institution or another university. I don't know. That really depends on your scientific proposal. If it's from the scientific point of view very advisable to go to another university, then this is also possible via a secondment. So that means short-time mobility. So that's important here. The secondment should be in line with the project objectives, adding significant value and impact to the fellowship. So Yeah, it could be that you are going to one university and another university has a special infrastructure, research infrastructure, what you need to implement your proposal. Then this would add a significant value and impact to your fellowship, and that's why this secondment would be advisable. And so you can argue. So in global fellowship, secondments can only be done during the outgoing phase in a third country. Okay, and no secondment in the return phase if you are again in a member state in a third country. So these are just the conditions what you have to keep in mind if you are going for this global fellowship. Optional feature secondments. There's another optional feature that is quite new. It's called non-academic placement. That was introduced, I think, I don't know, the last two calls maybe. So from starting from Horizon Europe, and that emphasizes how important this sectoral exchange for the European Commission is. Yeah? So they even fund you another placement at the end, after the end of your proposal, of your fellowship, to go to a non-academic sector. Up to 6 months at the end, after the end of your proposal, in a non-academic European organization, but that needs to be in Europe or associated country. The objectives are clear: to expand your career opportunities and to move between these sectors. To stimulate innovation and knowledge transfer. Yeah, that's also clear. Yeah, at the end, an additional period up to 6 months is supported by this placement. It's an integral part of your proposal, so you should also declare added value like the secondment. It must be a non-academic organization in a member state or associated country. So yeah, a non-academic can be, of course, industry or small and medium enterprises. That's especially interesting. It could also be governmental organizations, depending on if you are doing social science, for instance. Could be interesting to go into some ministry or something like this. That is for you then the non-academic sector. It could be some organization from a civil society, NGOs, could be foundations. Of course, there are also some research foundations, so they're not non-academic, so you care. Or other socioeconomic actors. If you are in doubt whether what you are looking for or what you have in mind is a non-academic sector, then you can look into the EU participant register and see whether this organization is already registered. If not, they need to be if you apply for this. And if they are registered, whether they are registered as a academia or non-academic organization. That's just a link, you can follow this. Okay, so these are the two optional features for the postdoctoral fellowships. So it does not need to be, but in some cases could be a good idea. Yeah, I want to say something about the eligibility criteria. So we are talking about the host institution. That is the institution where you go to. That is actually a proposer, and the proposal will be submitted via this host institution. So for instance, if you are going to University of Poznan, Technical University of Poznan, then the proposal will be submitted by PUT, Poznan University of Technology. And this must be a legal entity, of course, a university or something like this, in a member state or associated country. That's always the case, also for the global fellowship. Yeah, for the global fellowship, the associated partner is a host institution in the third country. It must be established in a third country, and it must be submitted a letter of commitment. So that means for a global fellowship, yeah, if you want to go to university in the US and then come back to, let's say, Poznan University of Technology, then the proposal again will be submitted by Poznan University of Technology, even though you are going for the first 2 years to a university in the United States. That's why, because European money can only be sent to a European institution, and you will also get in the first 2 years your money from, in this case, Poznan University of Technology. That's a special feature of this global fellowship. So that European Commission does not need to fund US university or some university. US would maybe work, but that's a global fellowship. Yeah, you can also look for a fellowship in an African state. And I don't know if this is so easy with the money transfer, and that's why they just shifted to this member state university. But again, that is only valid for the global fellowship. For the normal European fellowship, you apply together with your host institution. The host institution will get the money, and you will be hired at the host institution. So the researcher, this was the research, the host institution, the researcher, the nationality can be any, or can be, or needs to be a resident of the member state or as a country, or long-term resident or nationality of a member state or assisted country if you are going for a global fellowship, like I already told you. You need to hold a PhD, 8 years of research experience maximum. That means there are exceptions, I told you already, and European Commission even issued a guideline and a self-assessment tools. You find here the links. I'm not sure, maybe in the link I sent you with a folder, I have also put the guidelines in, but I'm not sure about this. So anyhow, but you can have you can see for this link, because sometimes it's complicated. Yeah, how long for maternal leave? How long for parental leave? Is an illness really an issue or something like this? It's all described in there. So if you are if your PhD is longer than 8 years, but you have worked outside academia, for instance, then you should read this guideline. But normally it's for 8 years or less than 8 years after the PhD. So, and again, this is a mobility rule. If you have chosen a target country, then in the last 3 years, you should not have lived more than 12 months in this target country already. Yeah, and of course, an individual researcher can only submit one proposal, and there's a resubmission embargo, so to say. So that means if you had already a submission of a proposal and it was rejected, and you got less than 70%, then you cannot apply in the next funding call. There's per year there's one call, so you have to pause for 1 year. So okay, these are the eligibility conditions. There's a speciality for our Greek, Polish, and Portuguese partners, because these are member states with so-called widening countries. They can opt in for an ERA fellowship. So that means, there's a budget for 50 projects, 50 projects in the whole Europe. So that's not that much, but it's another possibility. That means that while the application you can opt in, and a number of excellent applications, what means the applications who got on the reserve list. So that means they are fundable, so very good, excellent, but the budget was not enough. That happens, unfortunately, always. So they will be selected and will get this ERA fellowship. Greece, Poland, and Portugal means that you have to go to Greece, Poland, and Portugal. It's not your nationality, it's a host institution. So if you go to Poznan University of Technology, my standard example today, sorry, then you can apply for, or you can opt in for this ERA fellowship. I would do it because it's just an additional chance to get the fellowship. So that is the concept is to. I mean, these are countries you see it that have lower. How do they call it? Widening countries, and they have a lower innovation potential, innovation strength. So the European country, the European University, European Commission will fund them with extra money. That is the concept of this ERA fellowship. ERA, by the way, stands for European Research Area. Okay, that is an additional point, this ERA fellowship, additional opportunity. So I want to show you the award criteria. I don't want to go through this. The important message here is, at first, note the weighting. So that means these are the parts of the proposal. I want to show it to you in the next step. Every European proposal consists of in part excellence, in part impact, and in part quality and efficiency of the implementation. You see here, normally these are equally weighted. But for this postdoctoral fellowships, because it is an excellence program, the excellence part is overweighted. So half of the importance is on the excellence part. So you really should focus on the excellence part, also on the impact, and some on the implementation, but most important will be the excellence part. Yeah? The second important message is, ask yourself, where have I commented on every single of those points? Yeah? Because these are the questions who have to be answered by the reviewers. So they have to state whether the quality and pertinence of the project's research and innovation objectives and the extent go beyond the state of the art. Yeah? So, and this is the second important message, or the third important message, what I want to give you with this award criteria. You should really reuse it, because you have to remember, a reviewer not only reads one of the proposals, but he reads 10 or something like this. And he or she is doing this late in the evening after all the family stuff and so on. So has very limited time, but he or she has to state on these questions. So it's sometimes very advisable in your proposal that you just write, that you just refer to a certain of these criteria. Yeah? If you are writing, for instance, something about your career perspectives and what you're doing to improve your career perspectives, then you should write it. You should write, and this is a measure to enhance my career perspectives and employability, and then you continue. Just to awaken, so to say, your reviewer, that he sees, okay, that's the one point what is important where I have to state on in my review documentation. That is not only valid for this call, but it's valid for all calls, for all scientific proposals, actually, because all scientific proposals have more or less the same criteria. Either national proposals or European proposals, ERC also, and so on. So they all have some of the same criteria, and you have the same problem that you have a lot of text, but the reviewers are asked then to state on this criteria, and then make it as easy as possible for them to get a good opinion and a good feeling that you are addressing all of this award criteria in your proposal. Okay. So just the information, it also belongs to the truth that it's very competitive, this program. This is trusted information from the European Commission. They receive every year 7,000 to 8,000 proposals, but they fund only 1,000 roughly. And this year I've calculated 1,003 or something like this. So that means that the success rate is only 15 to 16%. That's why we are doing this today, and we want to fund you, a company who will improve your proposal, to increase your chances, your success rate. So just for the time frame, the time to grant is 8 months. So that means after 5 months, the Commission will have a result. They will have it. They are very strong in this. So after 5 months after the deadline, you will get the information whether you're funded or not, and after and then 3 months to conclude the grant agreement. That does not mean that you have to start with your fellowship directly in these 3 months. The fellowship normally must start 2 years after, or within 2 years after the end of the deadline. So that means this year's deadline is 11th of September. So your fellowship should start before 11th of September 2026. So you have a lot of time. Remember, you get 5 months, you get the information whether you're funded or not. Then you have 1.5 years to start the proposal. That should be enough time to organize the relocation. Of course, most of the proposals will not get the funding. But if you have a very excellent proposal, then you get the so-called seal of excellence. If you have 85% or more of the points collected, and there is this list, or the seal is meant for third-party programs, so that they set on top of this program and say, okay, if you have already the seal of excellent, then you are excellent, and we can fund you with our own money. And there's a list of programs. This is given here in this link. And for instance, in Poland, there's a so-called ULAM program, where they fund holders of the MSCA Seal of Excellence with national money. I don't know exactly the conditions of this, because in every country you can have your own programs. There are totally different programs that is up to the national country. And this is of course only available for Polish nationals in this case. So if you're applying, for instance, to go to Germany, and you are not successful, but you get the seal of excellence, then you can get a national funding from Poland if you are Polish national in this program. But again, you then have to check the program conditions, because that depends on your nationality. Yeah. By the way, there is an advertisement block. It's always good that you are changing the sites. Yeah, I'm talking about today a lot about how to improve your proposal. But what is really intriguing is if you try also to look how it looks like if you are expert in evaluating proposals. And this is actually what you can do and what you should do, because the European Commission always looks for reviewers for their proposal, because they have a lot of proposals and they need a lot of reviewers to do this work. And therefore, you can just simply apply. You apply for what is your field, what have you done, and so on. And then European Commission might select you as a reviewer. And then you see it from the other side. And that is, of course, you will get some money for this, but that's not that much. But the most important point is you get the feeling how a good proposal must look like. And your proposals later will be also getting better from this. So that's why it's also important to work as an expert, and this can be done by just applying here under this link. That's also the funding and tender portal with your scientific field, and then you can see whether the commission is selecting you as an expert. Okay, yeah, just some information about the money, what you get for this postdoctoral fellowships. There are some contributions for the recruited researchers, for you, if you apply, and there are some institutional money. That is money what goes actually to the institution, but also to you, and you can buy research supplements and consumables and something like this. Yeah, what is important for your projects, and some management costs also, and that depends on how much money is available for you. That depends on the institution. So anyhow, these are gross amounts, and country correction factor applies. These values are correct for Belgium. If you are going to France, then you get 18% more. If you are going to Poland, then you get 26 roughly % less than these numbers here. So that has to be taken into account. But generally, you get a living allowance of roughly 6,000 euro, an additional mobility allowance, because I mean it's a mobility program, yeah. So it might be needed that you are traveling a lot because you have left your home country. No, that's why you have this mobility allowance. There's a family allowance if you are married or have children, then you get this this family allowance. There could also be a long-term leave allowance for longer illnesses, or a special needs allowance if you have special needs. Yeah, let's say cannot walk or something like this. Then this can also be applied for. And like I told you, this institutional costs. So, for instance, to have to visit a conference, so that's also travel money, but only for travel, not for your private travel, but for the project travel, and for consumables and so on. But again, this number here is subject to this country correction factor, so you cannot just use it only in Belgium. It's exact the number. Okay, now we still have half an hour. I just want to ask into the round, is there any question up to now? Because now I would go directly to the proposal and to go to step, to every subheading of the proposal, and give you some hints what to write there, what could be good to have already an idea before you start writing, for host selection and so on, what is needed there. Yeah, Andrea, I see you have, you can unmute and just ask, or you can.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Fine.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I had a couple of questions. I'm trying to be fast. So I'm from France. I had my PhD in architecture and urbanism in December 2016. So the first question would be, the 8 years are calculated at the moment of the application. Is that correct?
Is calculated, yeah, at the moment of the application, and that is 11th of September.
By the 11th of September, okay. So that's the first part. And one second question, which is really important to me. I am actually currently an associate professor in the School of Architecture in Strasbourg, in France. So technically I have a tenured position, and I was wondering if this is still compatible with this fellowship.
Compatible, you mean?
Yeah, in the sense that I have a permanent, contract, or I'm tenured. I work for the Ministry of Culture in the School of Architecture of Strasbourg. But I would like actually to submit a proposal and go for 1 year in Romania, which is actually my birth country. But I haven't been living there for 20 years, so I think in terms of what you presented, it would work. It's just in terms of, I don't know how to say this in English, is my position, my current position isn't compatible or not with this kind of fellowship. Because technically, I know that when we are in this professorships positions at university, we can take a year off to do things. But I was wondering if on the side of Horizon Europe and the Marie Curie fellowships, are there any limitations in that sense?
From the program itself, I think it's compatible, and it's exactly what they want. Yeah.
Okay.
To give you a mobility experience, yeah, to give you new knowledge about how things work in different countries. Yeah. So I think that is exactly what they want. The point is that you have to check whether you can, how to say, but you already told it, you get 1 year free, so you can I don't know, make a pause, so to say, in your permanent position.
Yeah.
And if this is possible, then
it's not a problem. Okay.
There should be not a problem. For the European Commission, no. That's an excellent program. So the most important point is that you write in an excellent proposal. What means it must be from the scientific point of view, must be reasonable. What you want to do, and where you want to go in your host institution, and then and even if you is this an academia where you're working at the moment, an academia institution?
Mine? Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
yes.
Academic. Then it's okay, because if you are working at the administration, for instance, then the question is whether what you're doing now is considered as research, is considered as these 8 years. Yeah, that's why I have.
No, it is.
Okay. Then it's clear. Then it's clear.
Yeah. I would have one more question. I don't know if I am eligible to your Eunice mentoring program, or I'm not sure I understood what Eunice stands for and if my institution is a partner or not.
Yeah, I think not, because we have a French partner, but this is University of Hauts-de-France in Valenciennes.
Right.
And of course, we have at the moment limited this mentoring program, what means to offer you a mentorship by a company, by a paid company. We have limited to our partner universities. We have not limited it to a target country.
That's why I asked. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for all the presentation and
you're
for
welcome.
the answers.
You're welcome. So, any other question? Because then I would continue with how to write a proposal. I think that's the most important part, and we should finish this within time. Okay. Yeah, before we start to write the proposal, I just want to tell you what the commitments for a successful application are. At first, rights and obligations of all MSCA fellows are summarized in this information package. I already mentioned one, that is a full-time employment with an employment contract. You should be employed with an employment contract, and that is summarized in this information package. What are your obligations? What are your rights? And one right, for instance, is to be employed with social insurance. That is very important for the European Commission. In principle, full-time working commitment, that deals with the question what we had already. So you need to have somehow extended phase if you are working full-time in another job, where you can get off from this job and work here full-time for this fellowship. It could be part-time, but that must be approved by the RIA. There are certain conditions. So condition would be that you are somehow have disabilities, or that you have childcare or something like this, other cares. That could be reasons for having a part-time work in the fellowship. Yeah, the working conditions must be in accordance to the European Charter for Researchers and the Code of Conduct. I can tell you, if you are hired at a German university or at a university in Europe in general, then this will be fulfilled, but it must also be valid for every single legal entity, and that could be a small company. They also have to fulfill this criteria, and you have a right that they fulfill it. That's why I just want to point out here to this. There are special MSCA guidelines for supervision. You have a supervisor in your host institution, and you should state on this in the proposal that will come later. And that's why you should refer to some of these guidelines for supervision in a best effort basis. Yeah, it's not possible, it's not everything, but you should at least show that you know these guidelines and that you're following the main rules. As it is a mobility program, and European Commission wants to save greenhouse gas emissions, there's also an MSCA Green Charter. What, of course, I mean, the integral point is the relocation. So one time you will have a relocation, but of course there might be needed some more business trips, and how you can avoid CO2 emissions is written in this MSCA Green Charter, and it's again on the best effort basis. So you have to state on this, and you can have a look in this. Open access must be ensured to all research outcomes, including fair data management. That will also be asked in the proposal. So you should also be familiar with this, what it means: findable, accessible, interchangeable, and reusable. Reusable is R for the data management. And there's even an information note for postdoctoral fellowships. So some key deliverables, for instance, one deliverable is a data management plan. Half year after start of the fellowship, you need to give a data management plan, to submit a data management plan, and that is, for instance, written down in the information notes for the postdoctoral fellowships. This is, I think, one file what I placed into this folder, what I gave you the link in the chat already. Okay. Generally, this call is already open and is available via the funding and tender portal. If you use this link, then you get directly to the call and can start the submission. The deadline is, like I told you, 11th of September. The budget I already have given you. That's the sum of the budget of the global and the European fellowship. Here's a link to the proposal template. The proposal template is also in the folder where I gave you the link in the chat. Yeah, it's in rich text file format, so you can directly open it in a word processor and edit it. Yeah. So, and this proposal actually consists of a part B1 and a part B2. The most important part is a part B1, because here, again, you remember I gave you the evaluation criteria, we have this part excellence, impact, and quality and efficiency of the implementation with different weightings. And this is subject to a page limit of 10 pages only. That is hard to reach. To focus on all these questions, there are subheadings. I will show you them all next. Answer them on 10 pages. And there's a part B2, what is not subject to a page limit. This is indicative. The first thing, of course, is your CV of yourself. It's indicative that you have 5 pages, and the list of possible items is given in the template. Then you have to write something about the capacity of the participating organizations. What means, what can you do there? Did you go? Did you get a room there, and so on? So some simple and some more project-related questions. If you use infrastructure, when and to what conditions you have access to the infrastructure, this would be explained here. Additional ethics information if needed, additional information on security screening if needed, environmental consideration, green charter, I already mentioned it, and optional, that's only for global fellowship, the letter of commitment for the associated partners. So these are the partners where you go in the third country. So this US university, for instance, in our example. So these are the general parts of the proposal. Like I told you, if you use this link, then you go to the funding and tender portal. It looks like this. There you can get an EU login if you don't have at the moment. You need this EU login. Just create this login. With this link, you go directly to the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship call. There you can create a new proposal. Choose your host institution, where you go to, not the institution where you are at the moment, but where you want to go. You need to enter an acronym, scientific panel, choose a scientific panel, enter the title, and enter this supervisor contact data. And then you end up already in this page where you can work on the administrative parts, download the templates. That's exactly the template what I gave you in the link in this folder. And you can upload, if you have completed the templates, you can upload the part B1 and the part B2. That is just one single file as a PDF here to the portal, and that is actually your proposal. And then you can submit it somewhere as a submit button there. So I'm not talking much, not talking a lot about the administrative part here. Please start early. That's general advice. And ask for help in your host institution with this administrative part. The most important part, of course, is a part B1, these 10 pages with a page limit, what will be evaluated. And this is what I'm going through now. So the first, you remember, the first part is excellence, impact, implementation. We are now at excellence, and the first question is question 1.1, quality and pertinence of the project's research and innovation objectives and the extent to which they are ambitious and go beyond the state of the art. You remember the evaluation criteria? These are exactly the evaluation criteria. So, and here you have to formulate, of course, your own research idea. But of course, this has to be discussed with your future supervisor. It must match somehow. And you get, of course, some information. What is ambitious? Yeah, this is what he or she also should know. You should know this, but it's always good to discuss it with another scientist in this field, in this exactly field. Define your objects according to the SMART criteria. So your objectives should be specific. They should be measurable, not just some cloudy information, but really measurable. They should assignable, so assigned to a certain work. Here I'm doing the work and the objective is this. That would be assignable. Realistic, you should not save the world. And time related. So somehow to to be able to do this in a certain time frame. Yeah, and beyond state of the art, that is always important. This is immanent for every research proposal, to go beyond the state of the art. Therefore, the normal research work is needed. You should be familiar with your literature, with the literature of your scientific topic. You should visit the conferences where the most recent developments will be discussed, because your evaluators might be your colleagues from this conference. And you should, of course, ask your own research environment. What is really the state of the art, and what can you propose to go beyond the state of the art? Science is always to make something new. Okay, that is the first question. The second question, soundness, or the second headline, so to say, soundness of the proposed methodology, including interdisciplinary approaches, that's also important. Considering for the gender dimension and other diversity aspects, if relevant for the research. That is very important. I will say something about this. Project, the quality of open science practice. So here again, these questions arise. So methodology and methods. You should create work packages that will be formulated later in the implementation part. Question or headline, subheading 3.2. But you should already think in these work packages. You should always use figures and tables to condense your info. What methodology you are using, what methods you are using, what is a connection to your objectives. Remember 1.1, that were your objectives, and they should be relatable. So what relates, what work package, what method, what methodology relates to what objective. And that is always good to have it in tables, not to write just text, but to have it in tables. That costs space, but it's very important, because these tables will go into the memory of your reviewer. And have a contingency plan. That's also asked in part 3.2 anyhow. So if, for instance, your methodology is not working or your methods cannot be used, then you should have some ideas of, have you redundant methodologies or methods? That could be a part in the description here. Gender dimension, a very important part. The gender dimension does not mean that you have equal distribution of genders in your proposal. That is not possible anyhow. Gender dimension of research means, does your research have gender bias? That is a very strong discussion, because that was introduced into Horizon Europe in the excellence part. In every proposal you have to state on the gender dimension in research. And even in our national, in German, in our national funding, you have to state on this. So that means, in your field of research, is there any bias due to the research methods? For instance, and there are a lot of examples, but you really have to think about your research if there is a bias, if there could be a bias. For instance, a questionnaire will probably mostly filled by female participants. So even if you do a questionnaire to all, you will get a female bias into your answers, because they rather answer than male. And if you have pseudonymized, or what is the word? If you have, I mean, you have to obey the data protection, so you cannot connect the answers directly to the names, and that means you might not even know whether it's from a male or female. Then you get a female bias in your answers, and you even don't know it. That could be a gender dimension of your research. Or another very often used point is that actually in former times, or up to now, drug testing, so new medicine or something like this, was normally tested or was mostly tested on male patients. So you get the reaction of the male body, but not of the female body. That is a problem, and that is gender dimension in research. It's hard to find a gender dimension in, let's say, hard engineering research, if you're only dealing with machines or something like this. But there could be also a gender dimension. I can just give you these examples that is really hard to find out, but you are asked for, so you should state on this. And if you say no, I don't have any, but that should be educated guess, so to say, if you say no. Because if you have an expert who evaluates your proposal, then you should be really sure that there's no gender dimension. Okay, open science practice means you should publish under open science, but it could also mean to take part in open in citizen science events and so on. I will later tell you about this more. And research data management, you should obey the FAIR principles. And you should, if you are not familiar with this, you should contact your library, either your new host institution or your institution where you are working at the moment. What they offer, for instance, at BTU, we have a single page for this. We offer, for instance, courses, how to publish your research data in repositories. So if you're not familiar with this project, this could be, or with this topic, this could be one of your transversal skills to learn something in your new host institution about the FAIR principles and research data repositories. Okay, that was 1.2. 1.3 is quality of the supervision training as a two-way transfer of knowledge. Here again, this will be asked for you between the researcher and the host institution. So that is a question about the qualification of the supervisor. So a good first step would be to look for a good supervisor. The next step is to see in this MSCA guidelines for supervision and just check and mention it in the proposal. Yes, we are doing this. Yes, we are doing this. Yes, my supervisor is has already supervised, has already had several doctoral candidates and so on. That's what they want to hear there. So training activities, I already told you, transferable skills, to attend a course on FAIR data. Research data management could be one of the transferable skills, but it could also be good English, how to use research results, and so innovation from research results and so on. This could be transferable skills, but also how active are you involved in the research group at your host institution? You could take part in teaching in your host institution, to give lectures, for instance. That could be a very good activity. And there's also a good two-way transfer. Again, that should have been of influence for the choice of your supervisor already. A standard example, for instance, would be that if you have developed a new simulation method for, I don't know, something, social science or in engineering, you have the method and your host institution has a testing infrastructure, then that is very easy to explain the two-way transfer of knowledge. You learn whether your simulation method is working because you can test it there, and they learn a new simulation method from you, for instance. That would be a very good example for two-way transfer of knowledge. Okay, 1.3, we go to 1.4. Quality, so the fourth subheading in the excellence part. Quality, sorry, quality and appropriateness of the researcher's professional experience, competences, and skills. Here you should only describe your existing experiences. Write it like a motivation letter. So why you are exactly the one who can do this fellowship. Must be convincingly. It's about you. Don't be shy. Be open about the multitude of experiences you have already outside, also outside of science, if you want to share them. So I don't know what non-scientific experiences could be relevant there. And also write down your project management experience, because that's also important. If you have some, could also be a small project or something like this. So that all adds to your to the appropriateness of the professional experience of yourself as a researcher and your competences. Okay, that would be all for the excellence part, and now we come to the impact part. But remember, 50% of the points of the evaluation is in the impact in the excellence part. So that is the most important part of all of these three. Anyhow, the impact part is also important. And the first subheading is credibility of the measures to enhance the career perspectives. Again, career perspectives and employability of the researcher. Of course, the selection of the host institution is already very important. Does it match to your career perspectives? But like I told you, you can also go for a secondment that's optional but could be meaningful in your case, or to a non-academic placement after the end of the fellowship. And these all could enhance your career perspectives. If you do so, then write it here. Select transferable skill courses, like I told you, the data management course, a course in using research data in transferring research results into application. Is also very good, or English courses or language courses could also be important here. So that's a bright variety. Always ask the host institution what courses they offer. We have a large variety of courses, and then you just need to match it to your working schedule, so to say. When do they offer? When you can take part, and that makes a good. That gives the review a good feeling that you have already thought about attending these courses. So, yeah, what do you want to learn in your fellowship, and what are your plans after your MSCA? So that, because your career perspectives, I mean, the fellowship ends, and then you should have somehow improved your career perspectives. So what are your plans for after this MSCA fellowship? But it's also important. I mean, that is the big picture, so to say. Your career now and after the fellowship. So that means, what is your common thread in your scientific career? Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And what is your dream, and how does this fellowship contribute to your dream? So they really want to see that you have some plans after this funding, because the funding is only for 2 years, and it's only meant to improve your career perspectives. Okay, that is part 2.1. 2.2, suitability and quality of the measures to maximize expected outcomes and impacts as set out in the dissemination exploitation plan, including communication activities. So it's now about communication and to maximize this expected outcomes. So you should think about addressing different target groups, not only scientists, but also, I don't know, the public, non-academic sector, some target groups, and you choose the right dissemination and communication channels for them. Dissemination, that's clear, paper, conferences, but there could also be a scientific letter in your host institution. At BTU, for instance, we have this BTU und wir, it's called. Yeah, that's a letter, regular letter, where you can report on your scientific topics, and it addresses all the scientific fields in our university. So you are addressing different target groups in your scientific field. Yeah, but you can also look for popular science journals or association journals if you're interested in to get your information into certain non-academic associations, for instance. Dissemination, then communication. Of course, a website belongs to communication, but also social media and taking part in citizen science events. Ask the host institution. For instance, BTU takes part in the long night of science, long night of something like long night of science, yeah. Or researchers night, for instance, sometimes takes place. So it would be a good idea to take part in this. That is a very good communication measure, and also an open science measure and a citizen science measure. Yeah, and exploitation and IPR, also intellectual property rights. So you should show that you're aware of exploiting your results and claiming the intellectual property rights. You can also ask your host institution whether they have an exploitation strategy. For instance, we have such kind, and most universities normally have it. So these are the ideas for the impact part. I think, yeah, we have the societal, economic impact and scientific impact. The questions about this, that is, I mean, it's clear your scientific impact, that could be or should be clear to you. Yeah? If you are doing research, then the results are the impact what you generate. But there could be also an economic or a technology impact, but also as a societal impact. And you need to convince your reviewer that your project can make a big difference. Yeah, it's a narrative explaining. So you cannot say that it will have an impact, but it could be an impact there. And you need to convince your reviewer that you could have an impact with your founded with this project if it gets funding. And it's about the impact is about what takes place beyond the duration of this project. So and like I told you already, you should separate for the scientific impact, open new research possibilities, or you could have an economic impact, could open new economic or technology pathways to do something, and it could be also as a societal impact. For instance, to prevent some fears of new technologies if you are doing this and communicating it well to the public. Yeah. So this helps sometimes to also go beyond the scientific impacts of your proposal. Okay, and then we come to the last part, that is the implementation. This is only 20%, so it's also important because you have to show that you can implement the project, but it's only 20%. So that is not the most important part, but anyhow. It's quite good that you describe work packages here in this part 3.1, quality and effectiveness of the work plan, assessment of risks and appropriateness of the effort assigned to work packages. So you should define work packages. You should give what goal you follow with this work pages. You should have a deliverable of the work page, maybe a milestone. You don't need it, but it could be quite good. And you should show the description of this work package. So, and it's always good to have a table of work packages. Either you summarize it like this and have 3 or more work packages, or you just describe it and have at the end a table of work packages, just to remember for the reviewer what work page you are going to do. And of course, it's always good to have a Gantt chart. That means if you have different work packages, then you show how they are interlinked to each other, and you show what other events you are planning. Yeah, your secondment, for instance, or teaching and soft skill training, and maybe some other events and travels. It depends on your proposal, of course, but that's always good to show that you have thought about it, and you just name it or number it in project months, so you don't say May 2028 or something like this, but you just mention project month. This is, of course, now for 36, because I took it from another project. Your project would end in month 24. So, and you should also give some risk, assessment of risks. It's always good to have a table where you write down the risks, where you judge whether it's low or medium or high, and where you give a short mitigation measure. So, quality and efficiency of the host institution and participating organizations, including hosting arrangements. So that's about the hosting organization. Here you describe your relation to the group at your host institution. Did you already collaborate with them? How did you incorporate? How will you be incorporated into the research group? Will there be regular meetings? Will you take part in lectures? Use the infrastructure, on what conditions, and so on? That is all asked here. And how will you get support for your relocation? That's another point. For instance, at BTU, we have a welcome center where you can ask for what accommodation offers are available in the city, what are the normal social insurances, health insurance, and so on. So all the relocation related questions, what you might have. Yeah, and that's actually the end of the most important part. Until here, you have to compress it into 10 pages. That's very hard to do. But there are some more parts. I just want to briefly mention it. It's a CV, what you have to add. In the proposal templates, there are given some points, where what you state on. So for instance, if you have already had prices, what conferences, what papers you have written, have you already had proposals granted, and so on. So this all belongs into your CV. Capacity of the participating organization. These are 2 tables what you have to fill in. Then additional ethics on additional information on security screening, only if it's needed. If you have some ethical issues, you can state on this. Environmental considerations with the Green Charter, and letter of commitment in case of the Global Fellowship. These are all, I already mentioned it, these are all the points what are not taken into account in this 10-page page limit. So here you can write what you want. Yeah. And I think that's all. And my last slide is not exactly the last slide, but now this info seminar is finished. I hope I gave you a lot of information. We are now calling for ideas for the proposal in our questionnaire. This will last until 25th of June. Then we will review all proposals or all ideas, and we will select some of them to get an individual mentoring by the company. That will be in the beginning of July, 5th of June, something like this. And then we have this mentoring by a company that will take place in July and August. This is what you have to discuss with the company. We pay the company, but you have to discuss when you have time, how much sessions you need, when the sessions will be, on what parts of the proposal you need a special assistant. And finally, the proposal submission will be on 11th of September. And that is now the link to our questionnaire. So you will see that we ask a lot of points in the proposal because we need to have it. Please answer them very briefly in bullet points. If you have any question, we have also written in the questionnaire, ask me or ask Adriana. In the questionnaire, there's the email addresses. Yeah. And we hope that we get some applications. And like I told you at the beginning, that's an experiment for us. We are interested in whether this is helpful or not. We might offer this again, maybe in a changed version, but we will see. So, and I think with this, I will thank you for your attention and ask for questions again. And thank you that you stayed with me, even if it was 10 minutes longer. I again show the link. So if you have any question, please ask in the chat or via the video conference. Hello, Andrea, you have a question.
Yeah, if I may ask one more question. I was wondering if there can be more than one secondment.
Yes, there can be more than one secondment.
Okay.
Because, I mean, the limitation is a third of your time. Only.
Okay. Okay.
You can do it in one large step, but you can also divide it into several shorter periods. And you can also do the secondment to different partners, associated partners. You would need a letter of commitment, that you are welcome there, that you can do, that they have time for you. That is not formalized, this letter. You will edit, and you will need to describe it in the section. What was it? Just a moment.
Yeah, I think you presented it earlier.
Here, letter of commitment letter of commitments from associated partners. Yeah, that's why it's letters. If you have more than one seconding institution, then you need more. Yeah. You have to provide it here, and you have to also include it in the table of the participating organizations, because then it's a participating organization.
Because you can't have more than one host organization, I imagine.
That is right.
Right.
One host organization, because the host organization is the organization what pays you for the duration of the fellowship. And even if you're going for a secondment, you can go to another country. That's not a problem, anywhere in the world. But you will get the money from your host institution.
What about supervisors? Can you have two? I was thinking about the interdisciplinary dimension that you were mentioning, and I thought that could be one way to...
I think that would be possible. I'm not sure if it's technically possible, because while proposal writing, you can choose, you must choose a supervisor, but I think you can choose also two supervisors.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then you have to describe it, of course, in the proposal.
In the text, yeah.
No, why do you have two? They should have the same. I mean, you should also have a supervisor, some kind of supervisor in the seconding organization. If you go there, then
like a referent.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
No? So they should also have a person, but we are talking about now two supervisors at the hosting institution.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But
for a seconding institution, you need anyhow someone for every So yeah, you can have more than one.
Okay. And maybe one more question that is more directly linked to my situation. Do you know where architecture and urbanism, which scientific panel are they supposed to be in?
That is a good question. I think architecture is somewhere between engineering, and then now it depends on, are you going more for engineering part in architecture, or, I mean, urban planning sounds more for societal panel. So I would choose the social science panel.
The social science. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you for the presentation. It was really useful.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's now still time if you have some questions. I don't know, but Adriana, I think you have checked the chat because I don't see the chat normally.
No, there are no questions.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So I think that we can close the webinar and we can finish the recording.